An original 1956 Chevy front fender is not the easiest panel to find in good shape, and if you do find one, be ready to pay a pretty penny for it. So when this fender came across the shop, we realized the only option was to get a cheap patch panel and try and make it fit the best we could. The first problem we came across with the panel on our initial fitment was that it did not have the proper character line like the original. Once I centered the panel, I was able to tape off the area where I need to continue the character line. By using the pick end of the fair mount body hammer, I was able to hammer out a line that will clean up later. The next step to getting this patch panel to fit up is trimming the panel down. I scribed the line into the fender and used our air nibbler to rough cut the fender first, and I then did the final cutting with the Eastwood aviation snips to make sure my final cut was as perfect as possible. My initial cut got us close, but there's still a lot of adjusting that needs to be done to get the panel ready to weld. I decided to take the paint back on the fender and the panel a little more by using the Contour SCT and a DA sander. Once I got the panel and fender lined up and clamped in place, I could start welding it together. I'm using the TIG 200 digital for this project on the 4T with the pulse setting. TIG welding will give you a softer weld, which allows you to hammer the weld and manipulate the weld seam to get a nice finish. With the patch panel welded on, I knocked down the welds just a little bit by using a die grinder with 36 grit on both the top and bottom side. With the weld seam knocked down, I sprayed the panel with layout fluid. Layout fluid will allow me to see the highs and lows in the metal for metal finishing. Once the paint dries, I can hit it with the Vixen file to get my baseline and see where I need to work the metal more. You can see where the file doesn't hit, the metal is still blue, meaning that the metal in that area is low. I started working the weld seam with a hammer and dolly to bring all the metal on the same plane. Once I reversed most of the shrinkage in the weld seam, I used the bullseye pick to hammer around the small spots that we still needed to work on. I often hit the panel again with the Vixen file to search for any more low spots. This can be done over and over again. With most of the low spots resolved, I used a slapping spoon to level all the metal out once again, and I then hit it with the Vixen file to search for any minor spots that needed to be addressed. I continued to repeat this process with the bullseye pick, the slapper, and the Vixen file until I had the panel finished to my liking. I then took a DA sander with 80 grit and worked over the whole entire fender in the area that we were working on. As you can see, the fender came out very nice with a weld seam that is nearly invisible.